All right, so first play we're going to look at, 2nd and 2, one of the Patriots' first offensive plays.
Why do I just hear something in the background?
I heard that too.
Is that new? Might be new. Okay, thanks, Amit. Giving us a new little intro here. What's going on, everyone? Mike Kadlick and Taylor Kyles here for CLNS Media, back with another episode of the Patriots Daily Podcast, powered by PrizePicks, powered by Omaha STEAKS, and powered by Monarch Money today. We have a lot to get to, Taylor, despite the Patriots being on the bye. Bill Belichick, Robert Kraft, finalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. TreVeyon Henderson was named the Offensive Rookie of the Month today, so we're going to dive into that a little bit. Then we're going to look at Patriots Pro Bowl and All-Pro cases at the bye week heading into the final stretch of the season, see who has put up enough of a resume here to potentially get some end-of-season recognition. Then we're going to answer all your mailbag questions that we took on Twitter earlier today. If you have any more, throw them in the live chat. And at the end of the show, we'll try and get to as many as possible here. But first, want to talk about, like I said, Belichick and Kraft, finalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I think both guys, Taylor, are considered, or I guess we both consider them surefire Hall of Famers, if not both first ballot. This is obviously Bill's first ballot. Robert's had a tougher time getting in here. But I think the big deal for me, at least here, is the message that Belichick posted on Instagram yesterday, which he writes, "To be in this position is extremely humbling. I'm honored to be named to the coaching finalist for the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Thank you to the selection committee, yada, yada, yada." At the very end, writes, "Congrats to all the other finalists, Roger Craig, Kenny Anderson, Elsie Greenwood, and of course, Robert Kraft. I hope to see all of the deserving Patriots selected this year." So that also includes Vince Wilfork, Adam Vinatieri, and Rodney Harrison, of course, on the semifinalist lists again. So Bill playing nice with the Patriots here after, everything that's happened the last couple of months. Obviously, we know they banned Patriot scouts. He said that he wasn't welcome in the building. Robert Kraft saying that he fired Belichick, but tried to do it amicably, mentioning how, I think both of them at one point said that they took a risk taking the job. So there was a little bit of butting heads here, but now it looks like Bill's trying to play nice, and there is a reasonable chance now that after all this has happened over the last 2 years, that they're both standing on the same stage in Canton next August.
I mean, it's not going to be their first time on a stage together since Bill was mutually parted ways with the Patriots. We had that super awkward Tom Brady roast where they took a drink together and Robert was all for it, and Bill very clearly was like, "I don't want to be here. Yep. I don't like this guy." And they really didn't try to pretend. But it's nice to see that to some degree a hatchet has been buried. Obviously, time typically heals all wounds, but these are two older guys, so it's kind of like, let's go, let's make it nice, right. Let's give Patriots fans something to get excited about. But I mean, with Robert Kraft finally being a finalist, you'd think, this is his year, right? Like this is going to happen finally. And Bill Belichick, I mean, that's an absolute no-brainer. It just felt like the committee really was trying to troll Robert Kraft because
you think that's what it is? I don't see why not, I guess.
But. Dude, I think because we know there's been all the stories of he's tried to wine and dine the committee and tried to, campaign for himself. And it seems like because of the Spygate and because some people do have qualms with the way that they won during the dynasty, even though, Robert Kraft wasn't directly a part of that, it seems like they've still held it against him. And I think the fact that he has been campaigning just kind of added fuel to the fire, being like, now we're just doing it for fun.
Right.
And if he's going to get in, in a timely fashion, I will say, it does seem like kind of one last to have him share the stage with Bill Belichick, and hopefully they can, continue to just work things out, and be amicable. But still cool that two people who changed the course of football history will be getting the recognition that they deserve. Hopefully alongside Rodney Harrison, who Bill Belichick has just been begging to get in the Hall of Fame for a while. Adam Vinatieri, if any kickers are deserving to continue to go in, obviously Adam Vinatieri's there. And Vince Wilfork, I don't know if he will. It's so tough when you don't just pile up stats. But I mean, for what he was for that defense and what he was to the nose tackle position, to the point where Nick Mangold, rest in peace, was drafted specifically to be able to handle Vince Wilfork, like such an impactful player. So hopefully everybody gets in, but we shall see. But happy for everybody, man. They worked hard and they deserve it.
Yeah, I think ultimately, and we came on here when the scouts thing happened and ripped into Belichick, and I think rightfully so, right? I mean, that was nonsense. They've both looked bad at times here, but all things considered, when you talk about the game of football, at the end of the day, like these two guys deserve to be in and should be in. And while it may be kind of this awkward thing and kind of a troll job, like you said, by the NFL to put them on the stage together, it's also ultimately pretty cool that it's going to happen this way as well, and that we'll get another big Patriots kumbaya, if you will, in Canton in August.
Hopefully not a repeat of the Brady roast. That's all I want, because that was very weird to watch.
Yeah, no, that was bizarre. The other thing that I just thought of when I was talking about the back and forth they've had was, what was it, Robert? So Robert said that he fired Bill. Bill, then he said that he took the risk. Bill said he came back and he ended up actually taking the risk. There was something else now that I can't remember. The scouts happened. And now I lost my train of thought on that. But long story short, there has been a lot of Bill didn't put Robert in his book. That's what it was. He had the big acknowledgement page.
Oh, it was on the tip of my tongue. I was so close.
Yeah, I'm sure you were just chomping at the bit to get the last bit of drama out here. But no, I do think that with everything that's happened, it's definitely cool that they'll potentially get this honor together. I think that's ultimately how it's going to go here. I think it's only right that, again, now that Robert's a finalist, Bill is also here. Surefire first ballot, no doubt for Bill. And pretty cool that they can potentially go in here together as well. Another thing we want to hit on here, TreVeyon Henderson, Patriots Rookie of the Month for November. We talked about TreVeyon a little bit yesterday with David Andrews, who was our special guest here on the pod yesterday. That's going to drop in full tomorrow on the channel. It's up right now for members, so if you want to go get an earlier look, become a Patriots Press Pass member here on CLNS Media. But talking about TreVeyon and how he's come on a lot stronger over the last couple weeks after the fantasy darlings that we've talked about wanted TreVeyon, get him out there. He's a second round pick. We need our points. Blah blah blah. He has turned a corner a bit in the last month, given that Ramondre's been coming back from injury. And I would say well deserving of the honor, but pretty cool stuff for all things considered for the Pats rookie back to get this nod.
Absolutely. And we've seen the consistent growth. And now maybe I don't want to say it's plateaued, but it doesn't feel like, another big step. Now it kind of feels like this is just what he is, where he's going to be very physical. He's going to break tackles. The vision was better. Even looking back at the tape, there weren't a whole lot of times that I had a lot of issues with the decisions that he made. And he had 3 explosive runs on a day where Ramondre didn't have any. Now, obviously, their scripts aren't exactly the same. I swear Ramondre has some of the worst luck, because the number of times he'll get tackled in the backfield, and it really just is not his fault. Like, one guy will just be put in his lap or 2 guys are converging. It's just really hard to watch, unfortunately, for him. But TreVeyon showing that growth. And I actually went to PFF to see, in the context of the numbers, just how good TreVeyon was. He was a top 5 back in November. He was tied for the 5th most yards per rush. The only running back who had more yards after contact rushing total than TreVeyon Henderson in November was Derrick Henry. That's a lot, man. And you got to think, one of those long runs against the Buccaneers, I know whenever people look at his rate stats, they think, he had the 2 long runs. One of those, he was only touched when he was like a couple yards from the end zone. So these after contact numbers, there's that 1 long run at the end, but the rest of these are legit. Yards after contact per rush, he was still efficient. He had the 3rd most breakaway percentage. I believe that's rate of 15-yard runs. I'm not going to lie, I don't 100% understand what it is for PFF because they explain it kind of different ways. Because 42.4 wouldn't make sense if it's how many times you get 15 or more rushing yards. But it's a cool sounding stat, and he's 4th highest in it, so I threw it in there. Yeah. And also rushing touchdowns, he was tied for the most. And even as a receiver, not super splashy, but he was efficient. Had the 9th highest grade among qualified running backs. So TreVeyon Henderson, the patience was something that we really wanted to see him improve in. He did that, breaking tackles, taking advantage of his opportunities, and the run game did take a step in the right direction, but he's also carried this run game at times during that stretch. And even last week, he looked really good as well. I believe he was a top 10 performer by a few rate stats even last week, which was December, so that doesn't count. But congrats to TreVeyon Henderson, man. The Patriots keep stacking up these awards. He also got Rookie of the Week. Was it against the Buccaneers?
Yes. Maybe it was the Jets because he had 3 touchdowns against the Jets.
Oh, yeah, you might. Oh, yeah, you're right. I think it was the Jets. But look, when you're having games like that and you can't even remember which one he got Rookie of the Week because he had impressive performances, that kind of tells you what you need to know. So hopefully he
it might
continues
have been Tampa. I'm looking at his game log now because I don't remember it, but he had 147 rushing yards against Tampa because he had that long run at the beginning of the second half. So that probably put him over the edge. But 5 total touchdowns over the last month. Obviously had the 6.1 yards per carry last week. Really coming along here as a potential weapon for this offense, especially considering the thoughts around him early on that they weren't getting him going. He only had 2 carries at one point in a couple games. He's been spectacular. So kudos to him.
And so do you think that he should be getting more carries, or do you think it should continue to try to be as close to an even split as they can get? Because I don't think I'm convinced that he needs more. I'm not either. I think he's in a decent role for himself for what they want from the offense. I think you now have 4 games left after the bye, and then you're potentially looking to go on a playoff run here. So at least for this season, I think keep both guys fresh, and they do what they want in their roles, right? We've talked about Ramondre being a better pass protector. TreVeyon's not great in that role just yet, even though he was supposed to be that coming out of college. I think he'll eventually develop into a better one here. I think you still kind of keep it 50-50 like it has been. Use them both for what they're good at and keep their legs fresh because you want them to potentially be ready, through the month of February if you get to the Super Bowl. Now, heading into next season, I think that's when you look at the room as a whole and understand TreVeyon's improving. He's, we talked about Mike Vrabel mentioned that he's Jahmyr Gibbs-like. So, when you have a guy of that, or you think is that caliber, you're going to want to get the ball in his hands a lot more than you have so this year. But for now, I think, you keep the pace at where it's at because I think it's been just fine in that room with him and Ramondre so far. I'm on the same page, especially he's taken some steps in the right direction as a pass protector, but last week, the only time he's really asked a sand to block kind of gets blown up and allows a sack. So some of that trust, you make the rope a little bit tighter now.
Right.
And like you said, I think it really is just about keeping them fresh because while I don't love that they keep leaning into the gap stuff, and I know it's their scheme and all that, but it's very obvious that they are one of the worst gap running teams in the NFL. There are some reasons for optimism we'll get into in a future show. But I really just like the idea of making sure that you have Ramondre as the guy who can just punch the defense in the mouth pretty consistently, wear them down. And then TreVeyon gets about the same number of carries, maybe a bit more if he's got the hot hand. I'm cool with that. If a guy's having a lot of success, go with him. That just makes sense. But you don't need to start overloading TreVeyon. He just was your lead back for about a month. That's why he got the award. And we talked about it. 5'10", 200 pounds. You don't want that guy having something like 20 touches a game with any consistency. So I'm good where it's at.
Yeah, I think again where it's don't try and force it because it's good where it's at right now. I don't think you need to try and give him anything else because frankly you don't know what's going to happen at that point. Is he going to get run down? Is he going to let up a DN screaming in his face and get Drake May sacked again? So there's things where it seems like he, as well as the rest of the offense, is comfortable with his workload. So I think they should be fine with it as well. I don't think there's any need to force any more or less on him right now. So, but yeah, that's the TreVeyon conversation. Again, the rookie of the month here for the month of November, really taking full advantage of his new role, given the fact that Ramondre was out for a little while. So shout out TreVeyon. All right, we have to, we're going to hit on a couple All-Pro Pro Bowl cases for the Patriots here in just a second. But first, I got to tell you guys about our friends over at PrizePicks. Because as you know, PrizePicks is the presenting sponsor of the CLNS Media Network. And this episode, as well as every episode of Patriots Daily, is brought to you by PrizePicks. It's the holiday season, the best time of year for sports. We got bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes, and more. And it's all happening all at once. So while you and I are out here making decisions every single day, what gifts to buy, what to eat for the holidays, what games to watch, there is one place where it feels good to be right, and that is PrizePicks. We got Thursday night football coming up tonight. Cowboys versus Lions should be a high-flying matchup with two of the league's most high-powered offenses. You got Jared Goff, you got Dak Prescott, Jahmyr Gibbs, who we just talked about. Amon-Ra St. Brown might play as well, so there's plenty of action to get in on the PrizePicks app today. They now have early payouts as well. So if your lineup gets off to a hot start, you may now have the option to cash out those winnings before the game even finishes. So don't wait. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. Whoop. Played it a second time by accident. All right, so we have, let's see, I want to get our graphics right here. A couple Pro Bowl All-Pro cases that we want to take a look at. Now, we know that Drake Maye, we know that Mike Vrabel probably don't want to talk about being MVP and Coach of the Year. It feels like they're trying to steer clear of that, focus on one thing, winning the Super Bowl. But a lot of these guys, Taylor, on this team have made a decent push to be recognized at the end of the season for not only a Pro Bowl appearance, but potentially an All-Pro as well. So we're going to look at guys who are All-Pro, Pro Bowl caliber, guys who might just be on the fringe, and then some guys who are likely to miss it, but have also made a push here in what has been obviously a successful Patriots season. So I will give the floor to you to take us through our All-Pro / Pro Bowl candidates here.
Yeah, so I use part of this as the NFL fan voting. Now, that's not everything, but it does kind of help inform what people were thinking, who's just a popular name. Because I will say, in the fan voting, there were some guys I didn't expect. And then I just wanted to look into it and see, all right, is there anything that backs this up? And there was one pretty significant surprise that I will get into, but I don't really think we need a drum roll for my first All-Pro selection.
Let's do it. Bang.
It's Drake Maye. Arguably the most valuable player in the entire NFL. Obviously, he's probably going to be a shoo-in for the All-Pro vote. And why exactly is that? Well, Drake makes it look easy. And I've been saying that for a long time, and it's a layup, and I love me some alliteration. But also, I don't know if that's alliteration, I'm stupid. But anytime you look at these difficult situations, he's performing like the most efficient passer in the NFL. And when you even look deeper into the PFF grades, he's not ranked quite as high, but he's still a top 10 quarterback. So deep passes, 140 quarterback rating. If he finishes the year with that, I'm pretty sure that's going to be the highest passer rating on deep throws that anyone's ever had since they started tracking deep attempts, which is just not surprising, but incredible that he's doing that in year 2, considering where we thought this passing offense was probably going to be earlier really in the offseason, because once Boutte started getting going, you could kind of see where the potential was there. But immaculate on deep passes, immaculate when he doesn't have play action. He's good with it, but he's also fantastic in the NFL's most efficient passer without it. When he has to hold on to the ball, excellent there. Versus the blitz, been fantastic. There are some issues that are kind of creeping up a little bit, but we'll talk about that later if it continues to be an issue. And then under pressure, the kid is lights out. He's been a top 4 quarterback when opposing defenses are able to apply some heat. And the scrambling. Only Patrick Mahomes has more scramble yards. So I don't think we really need to get into this, because every time we talk about Drake Maye, it's, we're running out of superlatives, and this is just what he is now. He's really freaking good. So we have other guys that deserve a little bit more oxygen. But Drake Maye, I mean, having a fantastic season, leads every player in the NFL in Pro Bowl votes among fans. And you can see why. He's been so much fun to watch, and he's just playing at a ridiculously high level, as we've known now for quite some time.
Yeah, I do think, too, when you look at, accolades at the end of the season, like MVP is obviously the big one here, but if he can notch a first-team All-Pro under his belt at 23, and, if he doesn't, he's, almost surely likely to get a second-team All-Pro. Like, that's huge. So Pro Bowl is one thing. He made it last year. We know that's a popularity contest, but when it's the writers and the voters who give it to him, and he can – what's in all likelihood going to become, again, either a first-team or a second-team All-Pro at age 23. We know the sky's the limit. Like you said, there's accolades. There's, all the words we've said about him. He's been outstanding, and he 100% deserves, if not the MVP at the very least, an All-Pro nod here at the end of this season.
It's also probably going to get lost to history that it was a Pro Bowl alternate nod, but his career is probably going to be stacked with Pro Bowls and All-Pros.
Yeah,
so it's like, oh yeah, he was good from the jump. Like, I mean, he was like the 3rd choice, which is insane to think about. Now he's going to probably be a first-team All-Pro.
Yeah, that'll get looped in, but like you said, it'll be deserved at the end of the day, because if he keeps going on this trajectory, then the 11, 12 Pro Bowls, whatever, it's not going to matter what the exact number is.
Exactly.
All right, another guy who is I would say at least one position, a surefire All-Pro. I'll release it, but I'll let you get into it a little bit more. It's Marcus Jones, who has been an awesome punt returner and has sneaky been a really good cornerback on the defensive side of the football as well this year.
Why people keep punting to Marcus Jones?
It's crazy.
I don't understand. It's not a secret anymore. He's one of the most dangerous ball carriers in the entire NFL. So, and there felt like there was a point where he actually wasn't able to return many punts, either because of hang time or whatever. but the Giants didn't get the memo, punted to that man multiple times, and he made them pay. Now he's got 2 games under his belt where he had a touchdown and multiple other significant returns that gave his team good field position. I mean, we've said it. Marcus Jones is the best punt returner in football, and it's by the numbers. You don't even really have to make a hard case for him. He's got the highest punt return grade, the second most yards per return, the most return touchdowns, or at least tied for. And he's averaging the most missed tackles forced. Basically, every time he returns a punt, he's making at least one guy miss. That's pretty wild because on punts, a lot of the time, that's all you need. And then you just got to follow your blockers. And he has the second longest return in the NFL. The only guy that might challenge him is Chimere Dike, because as we know, he's fantastic. That dude, after that Titans game, I was like, Chimere, I did not recognize your game. My apologies, young man. You are electric. So if there's anybody else in the conversation, it's probably him. But the buzz that Marcus Jones has gotten, the success that the Patriots are having, I'd be stunned if he's not a first-team All-Pro punt returner for the second time in his career and the second time since his rookie season. Oh, also funny that he had the return touchdown that year against the Jets, and now he had one against the Giants.
Yep.
Look at that.
Likes to kill those New York teams in the special teams game for sure. No, Marcus has been great in that. We'll get to him on the defense side of the football in a little while here.
In a little while.
I'm talking all over myself. A little while, we'll get Marcus. Okay. Those are our 2 All-Pros. We do also have someone who probably won't be an All-Pro at this. Would you just burn yourself?
Karma. I hit my teeth with the damn glass.
Yeah, that's what you get for making fun of my.
It is literally instant karma. God damn it.
All right, those are the 2 All-Pros. We do have a guy who probably won't make an All-Pro, but is certainly deserving to be a Pro Bowler, and that is tight end Hunter Henry.
Hunter Henry's having one of the best seasons of his career. And not just that, he's having one of the best seasons for any tight end in the NFL. So the 9th furthest average depth of target. So Drake Maye, as we know, is very aggressive. He's been going downfield to Hunter Henry. We've seen it all play action. Earlier in the season, there were times where Josh would put him in the backfield and send him upfield to catch explosives. And also, although there have been some times where he and Drake Maye haven't been perfect, like last week, the drop on a throw that was kind of behind him, there have been some miscommunications in the past month or so. For the most part, man, Hunter Henry continues to be ultra reliable, especially in crucial situations. As you can see, only 3 other tight ends have more third down conversions receiving than Hunter Henry. And he's also top 5 in pretty much every receiving metric. Now, hasn't been a great blocker, and that's just not really his game. You never question Hunter Henry's effort. He's fine in that regard, but also tight ends aren't making the Pro Bowl because they can block. We know it's because of what you can do in the receiving game.
Right.
And when Hunter Henry, he's the second leading receiver, obviously, after Stephon Diggs. But when you are a go-to weapon for a potential MVP candidate, that's going to get you some more buzz. Hunter's already 5th. And I will say he's behind with the fan voting. A lot of guys in the AFC, so that could make it tougher. The only NFC player above him is Trey McBride, so it could get a little contentious there. But I also wonder if they would give it to Ty Warren over a guy like Hunter Henry, because I feel like some of this, the writers, it is a little bit of a storyline. I think it is kind of fair. Like Hunter Henry is kind of surprised me. I figured he might have one of his seasons in with the Chargers. Never has made a Pro Bowl. So this would be his he's never made a Pro Bowl, never been an All-Pro. So this would be his first. And it's not like he's not deserving. Honestly, I mean, I think you could make an argument he deserves it more than Travis Kelce, especially considering he is a cog in a successful team. So unless something crazy happens towards the end of the season, I'd be mildly surprised if Hunter Henry is not a Pro Bowler by the end of the season.
Yeah, he's become, like you said, he's had an up and down season here. There's some weeks where he's, on fire and other weeks where he's kind of non-existent in the past game. But, at least of late and, when push comes to shove and when they need it, he has been a go-to guy for Drake Maye. And we saw it especially on that, a couple of those plays last week where moving defenders, getting Henry open on, on his own accord, I guess Drake Maye was. And he's been great. And I think the longevity he's had with the Patriots too, I know that doesn't really matter or I guess help or hurt his Pro Bowl cause, but he has been sneaky, a constant for the Patriots over the last 5-6 years, ever since they brought him in, or 3 or 4 or 5 years, whatever, how long it's been.
Long time, man. It's flown by.
6, 7, however many years. No, it has flown by. You're right. But he's been great for all the last half decade, and I think he definitely, like you said, is deserving of a Pro Bowl nod, especially this season. For this Patriots team and for sure over Travis Kelce, who that's fan voting and that's what this is. He's, did you know he's engaged to Taylor Swift?
Oh, first, my bad. I was thinking about something else. I was thinking about what I was going to say next, and I got confused.
No, talking about Kelsey.
I don't think that's the right tight end. My bad. I botched that. But and now I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, do you think he's the third? I know statistically he is third best tight end in Patriots history after Gronk and Ben Coates.
Yeah, I would say so. I think that's fair. And it's sneaky too. Like I said, his time has flown by. I still feel like he's a new Patriot, but we were talking about, is he a Charger? Is he a Patriot? Like he has sneaky put together one of the better tight end careers, in Patriots history. He's been a stud, and you hope that given their team success now, that can propel him to hopefully be a Pro Bowler here as well. A team captain for the last couple seasons as well. So a guy who has been a constant for these Patriots. All right, those are our All Pros and Pro Bowlers. We'll get into some fringe Pro Bowlers as well as likely to miss, but definitely deserving for a shout out here in just a second. But first, I got to tell you guys about the steaks over at Omaha. There it is. Look at that burger. Oh, baby. From holiday hosting to unforgettable gifts, Omaha Steaks continues to deliver the world's best steak experience. Like you guys know, holiday season is here, and you can give friends and family USDA certified tender steaks, juicy burgers, and cozy and convenient comfort meals, and so much more right now during their Sizzle All the Way sale. You get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. And right now, our listeners, you see on screen, if you use code Patriots, will get an additional $35 off the top using that promo code. So don't wait. Save big right now on gourmet gifts and more holiday favorites with Omaha Steaks. Again, omahasteaks.com, 50% off site-wide during their Sizzle All the Way sale, and you will also get an additional $35 off when you use code Patriots at checkout. Terms apply. See site for details. That's omahasteaks.com. Use code Patriots.
Did you hear it?
What was that? Oh, I like it. Okay. I was like, I heard it. I was like, does Taylor know he's not muted? I couldn't get what it was, but
imagine I was just doing that on my own.
I like it. Shout out Omaha Steaks. If you need to get any meats over the holiday season, make sure you use that code. Use code Patriots at checkout. You get an additional $35 off too. Such a good deal from our
Get your meats. Get your meats.
At Omaha. Get your meats is right. All right. Couple fringe Pro Bowlers here for the Patriots. A guy we just talked about, so again, needs no introduction. But Marcus Jones as a cornerback is also sneaky, putting together a solid season for the Patriots in 2025.
He is. Now, I think he's probably going to end up missing one because of the bias for nickel cornerbacks. A lot of the times the statistics will make it look like they're not playing to quite the same level as guys on the outside because they have so much ground to cover and it is just a tougher role. But when you look at the overall product of what Marcus Jones has done, he's been so impactful as a run defender. The stats show a third highest run stop rate among cornerbacks in the NFL this season. But even Mike Vrabel last week being like, I have to tell Marcus sometimes, you don't have to take on a pulling guard. Like You're allowed to go underneath him and be smaller and just be elusive. That's a testament to the kind of player he is and his willingness to stick his face into the fire. So as a run defender, he's been one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL, but also in coverage, the guy's been making a lot of plays for this defense. 3 interceptions, obviously a pick 6. And also these interceptions coming in really impressive fashion. One against Josh Allen in the win, and that was one of your biggest victories of the entire season. And also, Marcus rarely misses tackles in space. Now, sometimes as a run defender, at times he'll get run over, right? Or there will be some situation where he is overpowered. That will happen, but he's going to get his more than he gets got, though.
Sure.
That was a hard one to remember. But as you can see, 12th highest coverage grade, which, it's not top 10, but still very impressive, all things considered. Again, especially because he plays in the slot. I do think the touchdown number is going to work against him. He's bottom 3 in touchdowns allowed, and some of those have been coverage busts, and some of those look pretty ugly on tape. So that's another reason why I do wonder, if that's going to be in anybody's mind. But when you look at the impact he's made on this defense, he's been their best cornerback, which is saying a lot when you just signed Carlton Davis to the contract you signed him to. Obviously, Marcus Jones gets his extension as well. But when you have Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis, and Marcus Jones is not somebody that anybody expected to potentially be the best in that group, but that's exactly what he's been. He's 7th among corners in Pro Bowl voting with fans, so that's still pretty cool. There's a chance he really could get it. And actually, let me check Obviously, these are fan votes. They don't mean everything, but I do want to check to see how many are in the AFC versus are in the NFC. So looking at cornerbacks, where are they? Okay, so we've got J.C. Horn and Nashawn Wright, the top two. Then it's Jamel Dean. So the top three are NFC corners. Then Derek Stingley, Kobe Bryant, and Emmanuel Forbes, both Rams. So right now, it's only Derek Stingley and Marcus Jones for the Pro Bowl voting. And then there's one other AFC cornerback on that list who we'll get to in a second. But that's not a bad start, man. That's not a bad start at all.
I think it's awesome. And I look at Marcus as a guy who, a third-round pick, kind of, I feel like nationally has flown under the radar for the last couple years since he's been here. Now, that's obviously due in part to the Patriots not having as much success. But Marcus has been a great player, a good punt returner, as we know. Gets the C on his chest this year. And now I feel like is getting some national buzz. Like I saw he went on Scott Van Pelt's show after the game on Monday night. I thought that was really cool, getting an ESPN thing. And then Joe Buck was actually hosting GMA the other day. And I saw that his wife was telling a story about Marcus Jones on GMA and how he I think it had to do with his music career going alongside his football career too. So he's getting some real buzz, which I think is awesome. And so I think it's super cool and pretty surprising that he's second in the AFC in cornerback Pro Bowl voting behind only Derek Stingley, who is, the best cornerback in the no Pat Surtain on there.
That's no, which is pretty funny. But also, I mean, when you make the plays in prime time, this guy got an interception against the Bills, and I mean the pick six. It's not prime time, but everybody or a lot of people knew about that pick six. You're going to see it on Red Zone. But yeah, no, that's really weird.
That is kind of wild. But regardless, we'll take it when you're the best team in the AFC. Then you're going to get your votes, and obviously he's got the punt return skills as well there, which help him out as well. But definitely deserving Pro Bowler as a cornerback, as is number 0, Christian Gonzalez. Why do you think that he could potentially make it here? I know you mentioned that we're going to talk about him, so let's do it right now. What do we got for Gonzo?
Yeah, so Gonzo is the third leading vote getter for cornerbacks in the AFC. Again, wow, that really, now that you said it out loud,
where is Pat Surtain?
Is absolutely insane. It feels kind of disrespectful. Maybe we need to do a little bit more research on them Broncos, because has he been hurt or something?
He was hurt for a little while this year, but I didn't think he missed that much time.
Well, I mean, I was thinking about that for Gonzo. One of the reasons I have him as Fringe is because of the time he missed. I wonder if people will take that into consideration relative to some other people. Also, the fact that it took him a couple weeks to really kind of find his stride. And frankly, so when you look at the numbers, before you get to coverage grade, he's having an almost identical season, if not better, right? He's allowing even a lower completion rate. He has almost as many breakups now as he had all through last season. And he's only allowed 1 touchdown so far. But here's the thing. He doesn't have any interceptions, and he hasn't gotten his hands on a ton of passes. Still, this is better than last year. But I was expecting more on-ball production from Gonzo. Now, again, when you look at the season where he was an all-pro and you put it side by side, you can say, well, clearly he's still deserving. But I would make the argument that the coverage grade is a little bit more indicative of how he's actually played, because I don't really know if anybody's watching Gonzo this year and saying, yeah, he's playing better than he did last year at the same level. I think it's fair to say he took a step back, again, because of the injury, because he took time to get back. Also because of the system. He's playing a lot more zone coverage now. They only run man at a 25-26% clip. It's under 30% versus in the past, he's been running man coverage at 40%. So there's a lot of reasons that he hasn't had quite the season he did last year. But still, teams aren't picking on Gonzo. If he's in off coverage, they'll throw at him. But when teams do try to throw at him in press man where he's at his best, usually doesn't work out very well for him. The only time it did work out, the poor guy got a concussion or at least a head injury and had to leave the game. So I say Fringe again because he did miss the time, because I do feel like if people are paying attention, they'll understand that it is the numbers are a bit deceiving and that the quality of his play hasn't quite been there. But also he's, again, playing in a different system, and the fact that he missed time but was still able to bounce back and be somebody that teams don't want to throw at, that's testament to how great he is. So I wouldn't be surprised if he just barely doesn't make it, but I do think he will. I'm not sure about All-Pro, though. I think there's probably some other guys that are more deserving.
Yeah, there's definitely a space there between, what he's done this year, the time he's missed, and being an All-Pro, which I believe last year he was a second-team All-Pro. Doesn't look like he's going to make it this year, but, deserving, I would say, of at least a potential Pro Bowl nod. And, you mentioned it, but I'll just kind of reiterate, cornerback stats can be sneaky because if they don't throw to you, you don't really register much. And then when they do throw to you and they beat you one time, that kind of can potentially skew the numbers there. So like him not having 0 interceptions also has to do with him just locking guys down and not being, given opportunities to actually intercept the football. So look, I think he has continued to be a solid player, one of their better defenders. He's just kind of quiet, and he just kind of continues to, show up to the office and do his job. So when it comes to, Pro Bowl votes and things like that, it can get skewed by the fans and get skewed by the stats as well. But I think
wild still looking at it side by side that the numbers are so similar. I was pretty stunned when I wrote this. I started with 2025, just position ranks. And I was like, actually, is he on pace to be about similar? I did not expect this at all.
Right. No, it's crazy. So he's been good once again. And we'll see if the fan voting can get him over the edge there as a Pro Bowler. All right. So those are the guys who, again, all Pro Bowl caliber guys putting together, nationally recognized seasons, if you will. We have a couple more here that are, again, probably not Pro Bowlers, but Taylor thought that, these guys definitely, given the season they've had on a team that has had so much success this season, at least deserve a shout out as guys who should or could potentially be considered as Pro Bowlers. And the first center, what? Hold on. I got it.
Well, also just for this one, it's a little bit of both. So it's the people that I do think at least deserve recognition for what they've done this season, even if it's not quite Pro Bowl level or obviously all pro level.
Yeah.
And then some guys that were in the top 10 of the fan Pro Bowl voting that I just wanted to do a little bit more digging to see if the numbers back up whether or not they are likely to be Pro Bowlers or whether or not this is kind of just people seeing a few plays and kind of running with it.
All right. And on that note, there it is. Garrett Bradbury.
Shit, that's tiny.
Oh, that is tiny.
It's okay. I have the other copy right here. So first, Garrett Bradbury. First and foremost, when I speak about him, I want to acknowledge that he has been much better than anybody could have expected this season. Last year, he had 4 sacks allowed and 6 hits allowed, 2024. This year, not a single sack allowed, although he has allowed 4 hits, that's tied for the 4th most, and 15 hurries. That's tied for the 6th most. So he hasn't allowed Drake Maye to take negative plays, has gotten him hit a few times, and he hasn't been perfect where he's not losing. And if he's dying slowly, which, I mean, given what we were expecting coming into the season, got to give him credit there. Bradbury is currently 9th, or at least as of December 1st, he was 9th among centers in Pro Bowl voting. So already on the fringe. A lot of that is probably because he hasn't given up a lot of sacks, but I think when you take into consideration just looking at the numbers, he has given up pressures of other kinds, and we know he's been inconsistent as a run blocker. I don't think he's deserving of a Pro Bowl nod, but he's worthy of respect because that man has exceeded expectations and been an absolute stalwart in the middle of the offensive line, so kudos to him. Also want to acknowledge Jalen Hawkins, another guy who was up there in Pro Bowl voting, so he was 10th among free safeties. And at first I was kind of confused and I'm like, nah, he's gotten his hands on some passes. There was the interception, obviously. I think that's what a lot of fans were thinking about when they cast this vote. But he also came close to a few interceptions. And when you look into the numbers, he's been more versatile. You've seen him closer to the box. You've seen him contribute in multiple ways versus last year when you heard Jalen Hawkins' name. Frankly, it was usually for bad reasons if you heard it at all. He wasn't really making plays. This year, he is tied for the 10th lowest completion rate allowed among safeties. He has the 12th highest coverage grade among safeties. And he's also top 10 with 2 sacks, 2 hits, and he has the 4th fewest missed tackles with only 1. So he's a fringe Pro Bowler. I don't think he's actually going to make it, but it's impressive that one, he's playing well enough to get fans recognition and respect. Right. And also when you look at the numbers, again, if you compile it, he's become a versatile player for the Patriots after not really doing a whole lot for them as a role player last year. So huge kudos to Jalen Hawkins. Maybe you got to capitalize on some of those turnover opportunities a little bit more, but still impressive season for a guy that I don't think a lot of people expected much of coming into this season, or at least on the outside.
No, I think, as far there's Hawkins, as far as his role has been, this year compared to last, and really the safety room in general, you come into the year, right, and you think, all right, it's going to be Duggar and Peppers as the starter, and Hawkins will rotate in, and Craig Woodson can, play in spurts, get his feet under him as a rookie. And instead, they obviously move on from the 2 vets. Hawkins and Woodson become those, those stalwart starters back there. Yep. And it hasn't missed a beat. I mean, as we know, the offense has been great. There hasn't been any real glaring, there's been a couple, missed tackles from Woodson or, missed opportunities from him as well as Jalen Hawkins. But overall, they've been good enough back there to, keep this defense in check. And I think that when push comes to shove, like you said, at least deserving of a, consideration for a Pro Bowl nod here is Jalen Hawkins. All right, couple more here. We will hit. Let's go Brendan Schooler first because he's nursing an ankle injury right now, but he is one of the perennial better special teamers in the league. So sorry, I was trying to get our graphics up. But yeah, Brendan Schooler, go for it.
Yeah, so I think he's going to miss it. One, because of the injury. If he does miss, like we already know, he already missed 1 week. If he misses another, that could impact it. Also, just looking at the numbers, it's not everything. And especially with Brendan Schooler, I do not want to make it seem like his job is solely encompassed by the tackles he makes because of how many times he forces people to fair catch or his efforts as a blocker. Like, he's still one of the best special teamers in the NFL, and I want to acknowledge that. But when you do look at the numbers, tied for 26th in tackles, I do think that's significant. It's something that people are going to want to pay attention to. And he's 5th in Pro Bowl voting, so still very possible that he gets it. But I also wonder how much of that is name recognition versus, like, we haven't seen him make the crazy splash plays we've seen in the past, or like a blocked kick or something that completely changes the course of a game. Haven't quite had that memorable moment yet, which I think may also hurt. When you look at Christian Ellis, I don't think he's going to make it, but at least acknowledge it. So he's tied for 13th in special teams tackles with 10, and he has the forced fumble last week, which, again, prime time, that hit literally rang throughout New England and across the country.
Oh, no, yeah.
So if he makes another play or two that's notable on special teams, I wonder if he can potentially sneak into the Pro Bowl himself, because was it 2 big hits on special tems, or was it just the one?
For Ellis last week, he had the hit on Dart, and then he had the hit on Gunner.
Right. So we'll see, but we at least need to acknowledge that Christian Ellis has one more special teams tackle, so it's not crazy, but he could potentially be in the conversation as well.
No, you're totally right about that ringing through across the country. Little insider trading here, if you will. The top red story on Sports Illustrated earlier this week was Mike Vrabel talking about Christian Ellis's hit on Jackson Dart. So people were interested in that for sure. And I think, again, that's the Pro Bowl thing, right? Where, you make a couple plays, you do it in prime time, you're a good player. I mean, that's granted, and I don't want to take anything away from Matthew Slater, but that's part of the reason why he stayed up at the top of the league for so long, was because he was a part of the Patriots. He did a great job on special teams, but did so on a team that was also successful in the same vein. So if Christian Ellis can keep that up and keep rolling there, then, he could potentially, sneak in as well. If not, become one of those guys, in the next couple seasons, depending on if his, defensive, I guess where his role in the defense ends up as well. But great stuff from Ellis. And the final, likely to miss Pro Bowler, but somebody who, at least around here, has become a fan favorite. And if New England fans, where it was up to just New England fans, would definitely make the Pro Bowl, is wide receiver Kayshon Boutte.
Now, obviously, Kayshon Boutte doesn't have the target share to actually make the Pro Bowl. You need a lot more than what he's gotten.
Right.
And he missed a couple of games, so that's going to hurt. But when you look at his efficiency, man, he is performing like one of the most dangerous wide receivers in the NFL. And he's not doing it easily. The only player who's lining up wide more than Kayshon Boutte this season is A.J. Brown. He's a true outside X-type receiver, and he has one of the highest average depths of target in the league while still catching almost everything thrown his way. The guy has 1 drop on the entire season, and I can only think of I think there might have been 1 play on a downfield throw that he didn't capitalize on, but for the most part, I can't even tell you what exactly it is. The guy has been money, averaging the 6th most yards per reception because of his deep prowess. No player in the NFL, has more deep touchdowns than Kayshon Boutte, and no wide receiver has a higher catch rate on deep passes. And also, he and Pop Douglas lead all wide receivers in receiver rating when targeted. So just really, really impressive season from Kayshon Boutte, going from someone who obviously was pretty much an afterthought his rookie season to last year, showing flashes, but you just wanted to see more of it because that downfield game, you saw the little sparks against like the Texans, but then there were a ton of other times where it felt like he and Drake weren't on the same page. That's not the case now, and he has become an absolute cog in this offense, and specifically in this deep passing game, and showed some red zone prowess as well. Got himself a fade target in the end zone for a touchdown. So, again, Kayshon Boutte hasn't gotten nearly enough targets to actually be considered in Pro Bowl voting, but when you look at the numbers, he has performed like one of the league's best receivers.
Did you see the mic'd up with him, too, giving the offensive lineman a shout-out? That was
awesome. I love that. Yeah.
The man has completely turned a corner. And, we've talked about the the potential character concerns and kind of why he fell off at the end of LSU, whatever. I think his turnaround from where he was to where he is now is one of the more impressive things I've seen from a Patriots player in a while. Like, he has completely matured, honed in on his craft, become, a very solid role player on this team, and doesn't care about getting versus not getting the football. He just wants to win right now. You saw it giving the offensive lineman, credit in that mic'd up video. If you haven't seen it, go check it out on Patriots.com. I think it's super cool. He's turned into like the ultimate professional, which is, sick to see. From where he was at with the, a couple years ago with the, the incidents and all that. So shout out Kayshon Boutte. He's done a lot to, turn himself around to become a solid household name as a Patriots wide receiver. So those are our All-Pro and Pro Bowl cases for the New England Patriots here. Good stuff, Taylor. Thanks, we will answer some mailbag questions here in a second. We have some loaded up from Twitter. If you have any more, throw them in the comments. But first, I got to tell you guys about our friends at Monarch. If you want to keep your finances under control this holiday season, you need to be using Monarch. Rated Wall Street Journals. I'm getting my words messed up again here, Taylor. Rated the Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you've been putting off organizing your finances, then Monarch is for you. They do all the heavy lifting, linking your accounts in just minutes, giving you clear data visuals, as I see on screen right here, smart categorization of your spending, and real control over your money. So don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code PATRIOTS at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. Again, that's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code Patriots. All right, shout out Monarch, helping us keep our cash in check. It's time for the mailbag. As you know, we do it every week here. Some questions from Twitter loaded in. Again, if you have them, we have a couple in the chat as well that we can get to as well. But first and foremost, from DTOM_vape. How bad does the red zone performance have to get before McDaniels begs Chad O'Shea to come from Cleveland here to become the red zone coordinator? So kind of a joke question here, but, talk a little bit more about the red zone and how bad, you think it gets and how they could potentially improve it.
I still think it's more execution. There's not a whole lot of times where I'm like, this play doesn't make sense. And there was that one run where they ran into a bad look. And there was also a play where they checked into like a bootleg when the Bengals were blitzing. And I didn't love that. So there are times, of course, like there are plays that you want back every game, but it doesn't feel like the play calls or designs are the primary issue. Sometimes the defense calls something where you're expecting man, they play zone, and the concept you ran isn't really effective because they win against tendency, which you also have to acknowledge the other guys get paid to. It's not always going to be perfect. The scheme is not always going to win out from play to play, but you do need to get pushed from your offensive line. Like, you need to get to a point where when you are at the 1 yard line, you can confidently run it 3, even 4 times and know at some point you're going to punch it in. And
like David Andrews told us.
Exactly. And take some pressure off your pass game because you don't want the other team to know that you probably are going to have to throw the ball when you're in the low red zone. Obviously, you got Kayshon Boutte flashing last week. I said on the radio, I'd like to see more of Hunter Henry in the red zone because he was so good in 2021 under McDaniels. And I feel like this year he hasn't been quite as much of a red zone threat as we've seen in the past. But yeah, I don't think that Chatty-O is necessarily the solution to this one. I think that players just have to do their jobs and capitalize on the opportunities that are presented down there. And also, that's really it. When you get down there, it's like the opposite of the defense, where they can't seem to stop people when they get down there. You need to be more like that, where, they're inside the 5. It's a 90% chance they score.
So I'll ask this then on top of it from the chat here. Do you think the focus of the bye week / what is the worst thing for the offense right now is the red zone issues in general or the issues that they've had in the ground game?
Red zone.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, like I said, those are going to go hand in hand to a point because you want to be able to run in the red zone. But overall, we've seen them still have success when the run game wasn't very good. It's a lot harder to do that when you don't have any red zone offense. Now, obviously, you can get explosives that make up for that, but the red zone is the most important area of the field. So I would, if I had to split it up between one or the other, I would focus more on that. But again, you have to get better in the run game to be a better red zone offense. And they did show flashes of that against the Giants, got some really good movement on some of their double teams at the point of attack.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not as upset at the run game as some other people are. I think they've been a decent complement to what they've wanted to do in the passing game. And I think the way Drake May is playing, you want to lean on the pass anyway, be able to rely. They need to get better. You need to be able to rely on the run a little bit more than you have so far. But it's definitely a red zone. You got to score touchdowns in this league. Like it's that simple. David Andrews, I got to keep going back to what talks about. They always want to end a drive and a kick. You want them to end in extra points a lot more than you want them to do in field goals, obviously. However, so they gotta find them. Once they get there, they gotta get in for 6 instead of 3. Flipping it to the defense, do you think fatigue played a major role in their drop off in run defense lately? I can see playing so many weeks in a row without a break wearing down a team's ability to stop the run.
I hate making excuses like this, and I'm sure the players would as well.
Yeah.
It would make some sense, though, the fact that they were doing so well and kind of at a very clear inflection point fell off a cliff and never really recovered. Like, they were better against the Giants, but that's better relative to being one of the worst run defenses on a snap-to-snap basis. Now, they weren't giving up explosives, and I feel like that's really what they care about is they're not giving up a ton of big runs. We're giving up some big runs, and that's not something you can ignore. So, obviously, after the bye week, it'll be a very good sign of whether or not that's the case. Losing Milton Williams does play a factor because while he was only one part of the run defense, he also was somebody who was getting into the backfield more than anybody else on your defense. So that's going to hurt because you don't get the negative plays that offset some of the positive yardages and take the offenses out of being able to run the ball. Because if on first down you just lost 2 yards, you're not going to run it again. That's an obvious passing situation that works in the defense's favor. But they got to tighten up. We'll see if they can do it and whether or not getting some obviously much needed rest will make the difference. But I think it's unrealistic to say that fatigue didn't play some kind of factor, especially when you're down Kyrus Tonga and Milton Williams, and you can't even really rotate with the same quality that you did before.
Yeah, the tell obviously will be after the bye when they get healthier and you see if they can get back in on that. They'll have obviously a tough test right away with James Cook and the Bills, and obviously we know Josh Allen can run the football himself as well. But as far as not making excuses, I'm with you. But I think that it's realistic to think that the injuries and just wear and tear on the body, whatever, is going to be a little bit more susceptible. You're going to become a little bit more susceptible to, long runs and chunk plays as well there. So we have a couple on the offensive line here. Let's see. We'll go with this one first. I thought this was an interesting question. How do you read the offensive line performance last week? If we take it at face value, run and pass block was better. They're better over the next few weeks. Do they stick? I'm sorry. Let me reread that. If they're better over the next few weeks before Campbell and Wilson come back, do we stick with Vidarian Lowe and Ben Brown, or do you go back to the rookies that got you here so far?
I think you have to go back to the rookies.
Yeah. Because
I think it would send a not great message when Jared Wilson was playing better for you and Will Campbell hadn't done anything all season to deserve getting benched, and he's your first round pick. Like, Will Campbell is not. He's going to be back in the lineup as soon as he can. I think Jared Wilson is at least a fair conversation to have because, honestly, that game where Ben Brown came in and he was as an eligible tight end next to Will Campbell, I'm like, they get some really good push together, and I wouldn't hate this run blocking because I do think that Ben Brown's better in that department, and he's so much more experienced. I think that makes a difference in pass protection where I think you could argue that maybe at this point, Ben Brown is a better guard than Jared Wilson, but Jared Wilson hasn't been such a glaring weak spot that he has obviously hurt your offense. You're still doing pretty well with those two rookies on the left side. And you also want him to get those growing pains at some point because how do you get better at football? By playing football. And it's not like wide receiver where you can rotate in and there's so many guys ahead of you. That's not the case. He was thrown into the fire and played well enough that they didn't feel the need to pull him before that. So I do think it's fair to question whether or not Ben Brown could potentially maintain his role. I also wonder if something happens to Garrett Bradbury.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a Ted Karras. David Andrews, again, related Ben Brown to Ted Karras, saying he's making himself some money by playing some good football.
Right.
You don't know. Maybe it is that Ted Karras trajectory where you see him as a career backup, but he plays well for you down the stretch, and you're saying, well, if we have a hole on the offensive line, which the Patriots did not do when Ted Karras was a free agent, really pissed me off, just completely gut your interior offensive line. Oh, I don't need to go back to that. But, at least it could set up a pretty interesting scenario in the offseason if Garrett Bradbury were to hang it up and they're saying, all right, well, we don't want to lose Ben Brown because played some pretty good football for us, even though we couldn't keep him in the lineup.
Yeah, they have if this is what it ends up as, it's a good problem to have, obviously, where You want to go back to the rookies who have got you there. That, again, Will Campbell's going to keep his job if he's there. I wonder too. We've talked about it, but it was reported that he suffered a grade 3 MCL strain, and it could take him a little bit of a while to get here. I know that some people, I think Mark Daniels was on the radio, and I don't know if it was his take or somebody else, but conversation about, do you just shelve him and let him get ready for next year? Now,
next year,
yeah.
Bro, if it's that bad, sure, but I think that's like a nightmare. Not nightmare, I guess. You still got
right.
That's obviously the worst case scenario. I don't think you want to do that unless you have to.
I'm with you. If they're on a trajectory and he can come back, you bring him back because he's been that good for you at the left tackle spot. But on that note, keep it here. Did you pick up on anything schematically against the Giants that the Pats did offensive line wise to help compensate for Campbell and Wilson being out? Now we know they used Thayer Munford as a 6 offensive lineman there a couple of times. I saw that Vidarian Lowe was also used as like in a
put him next to Morgan Moses in an unbalanced,
like an off balance package. So they did a couple interesting things, but what was your take on it? How they were able to kind of again compensate for that?
So they had used those wrinkles, like they were in the game plan last week, where you saw that funky formation with Ben Brown split out once Jared Wilson got hurt. So I don't think that was necessarily to compensate for the offensive line. And I go back to what Josh McDaniels said. I really do believe him. And we kind of hit on it where you had to accommodate for 2 rookies.
Right.
It's not like you were going in like, hey, we got Tristan Wirfs and Joe Thuney on the left side. We're chilling. We don't even have to think about it. You don't need any help. They gave the chip help that they've been giving. But one big difference was Drake Maye was throwing the ball faster than he has all season. That was the biggest difference, and that was obviously a huge help. You don't want these guys. I don't care if you're chipping or not. You don't want them to have to block Brian Burns and Abdul Carter on any kind of consistent basis. So there was a little bit of you're running the ball effectively. That was a big part of it. They only dropped back for play action 4 times. They weren't trying to – a lot of the time they run to set up play action because they're using similar looks. No, they weren't trying to be cute. They absolutely just ran it down their throats. They were in 11 personnel a lot of the time, just straight duo, just bam, bam, bam. And it worked for him. So that was a big part of it again. Drake Maye helping out with being disciplined and poised and getting the ball out on time. And then Josh McDaniels not leaving his offensive tackle on an island against a really good pass rusher. And then Ben Brown, obviously, like the game plan, you're trying to slide to Dexter Lawrence as much as possible. But even still, I thought Ben Brown held up well when he was on an island.
Yeah, I think it's the perfect point is it's not like you were replacing 2 perennial All-Pros. Like you were giving those guys help anyway. So, whether they add a little bit more, whether they change things up a little bit. Again, we talked about it. I keep coming back to the David Andrews interview. It was super informative, guys. So freaking watch it when it drops tomorrow. If you want to see it right now, join us, Patriots Press Pass member. But talking about
watch it now. You don't want to wait. It's such good content.
Yeah,
Crack your friends that stuff they don't.
But he mentioned how got them going right away by running running behind them first play off the left side, get them going, downhill blocks, what have you. So that even is one that, God.
The Aaron Donald one was so bad. Guys, I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Because I got the first one wrong, I completely overthought. And we were talking about coverage and like you talk about empty or whatever. So I'm thinking the secondary. And David Andrews goes, who do you think we were game planning for against the Rams? And I completely overthought it and was like, Marcus Peters? And then I was like, Nickel Roby was pretty good that season, wasn't he? He goes, Aaron Donald. I'm like, you dumbass, Taylor.
Idiot.
I've not forgotten. I still have a cold chill down my spine when I think of that F up.
Stop asking us questions. Oh, I hate that. Oh, that was funny. Good episode. Go watch it. Drop it on there right now. It's on there behind our membership. So go check it out. We had an awesome hour-long conversation with David Andrews yesterday on the pod. All right, let's close it out with this. Patriots playing the Bills after the bye week here. Do you think Diggs will have another massive game against the Bills? He hasn't been heavily involved since the Jets game. I had to chop this a little bit, but it was basically like from @JP Saucy Guy. Mentioned how the Bills have a good pass defense, but Diggs was still able to shred them a couple weeks ago. And do you expect Diggs to have a similar output this week?
Looking at Stephon Diggs' numbers just to see how it compares, my computer's going super slow.
It's all good.
Selfishly, I would love for him to have another crazy game against his former team, 100%, especially against a division rival. So looking back, so against the Bills, he had 12 targets and 10 catches. The most he's had since then was 9. He had that against the Jets. But the past 2 games, he had 3 catches last week, 2 catches the week before. could absolutely see him having a better game, especially the Bills love to run zone coverage. And the Patriots have a lot of formations, especially 2 tight ends, where they end up matching Stephon Diggs up against the linebacker. So I could see it, but I also would love to see Drake continue to spread the ball around where you have multiple guys that have 30-plus receiving yards and like he's thrown to 10 different people, so you really can't get a beat on where exactly he's going. But wouldn't be surprised either, because I think Josh tries to, especially against these former teams, give guys opportunities to make plays. Like Matt Collins, former Dolphin, he had that. I think his only touchdown this season. I think his only touchdown this season was against the Dolphins. That was his former team. So I feel like Josh is aware of those things and will try to get him involved, but also like you're not going to jeopardize the game plan just because you want to get a guy involved. But thanks to your leading receiver, wouldn't be surprised at all if this is a better game for him than he's had the past couple weeks. Yeah,
there's something there though where they may try.
Oh, the finger! I forgot the finger. Maybe that's part of it, honestly.
Oh yeah, that's true too. Yeah, maybe the production's going down, but no, I think that he knows Buffalo. He's gonna be a little bit more up for that Buffalo game, just like he was the last time. I don't think they will necessarily, like you said, scheme things up because it's his former team, but there may be a little more juice there for Diggs for sure. But an exciting one nonetheless, as the Pats now sit here 11-2. It's still crazy to say that they're 11-2. I can't believe it.
What a world.
What a world.
We're in the good place.
in the bye week here, and taking on the Bills, Ravens, and then closing up with 2 AFC East opponents before we're going to start covering some playoff games here, Taylor Kyles, which will be super duper fun. All right, that's going to do it here for us today on Patriots Daily. Hit a ton here, so if you missed it, talked about Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft potentially heading to the Football Hall of Fame. We broke down all of the All-Pro and Pro Bowl candidates the Patriots have this season, and gave a little shout-out as well to TreVeyon Henderson, the Offensive Rookie of the Month. So that's going to do it here for us. We will be back tomorrow here on the show. David Andrews' episode dropping tomorrow, so make sure you check it out. And I'll keep saying it, but if you want to watch it now, become a member here at Patriots Press Pass. That is right there. 4 members already, so you guys can go check it out early. Until next time, good stuff as always, Taylor. And for everyone watching, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we will see you very soon. Peace out, everyone.
Bye-bye.